Welcome to the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks. We're Jim and Joe, lifelong friends, lifelong fans, bringing you fan-driven sports talk the way real fans do. No overpaid experts, no scripted analysis, just honest takes on the games, players, and the big stories shaping sports right now.
We want you to be a part of it too. Thanks for joining us, folks. Drop your comments, questions, and takes. We'll read them all, bring them into future shows like today's show. So please hit like, subscribe, and join the conversation every week for free on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok, or wherever you listen. Hey, Joe.
Hey, wow. Happy Tuesday, Taco Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Got my Friday beer shirt on, even though it's Tuesday. I don't care.
Is that your Friday beer shirt?
Oh. Yeah, it's my flying beer shirt. My boss at United, at my old job, used to call it my flying beer shirt.
I
little
like
beers,
it.
Little beers and palm trees or something like that.
Love it. Very tropical. You live in Central Florida, so that sounds good. By the way, I thought you were going to wear a hat.
Yes, sir. I'm going camo.
Oh wait, you're wearing a hat?
Yeah, I'm wearing a camo hat.
Sorry, it's camouflaged. I didn't notice it.
I'm wearing a camo hat because Florida State lost to Florida in terrible fashion. I don't want people to recognize me right now.
Yeah, and Florida State turned down a bowl bid, even though they're 5-7. I guess we can talk about that.
Yeah, but the women's soccer team just won last night their 5th national championship.
You know what? Listen, we should lead with that. That's huge. And with the World Cup on the horizon, why not start talking about soccer a little bit?
Yeah. Fifth national championship. They just matched Miami's 5 of football championships.
It's unbelievable. You had to bring that in a completely unrelated sentence. You had to bring that up, but sure.
That's how I roll.
If it wasn't for Terry Porter, it'd be 6, but I digress. And who did they beat in the championship? I'm not testing you. Do you know? Only because I've been following soccer. We have a very good friend whose daughter was All-State New York big time, and she plays for Tennessee currently. So I don't know how they did. I know that they had gotten off to a good start, but between North Carolina and some of the perennial programs out there,
I do have the answer. I'm going to predict. I'm going to make my pick here. I think their mascot is a tree, and they play in the Bay Area, the city by the bay, Stanford.
As of today, does their football team stink?
Yeah, except
Stanford.
For the night.
Okay, great. Yes. Yeah, the geographic makes total sense. They're in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Love it. Makes
Another reason to make me wear camo. Florida State lost to Stanford.
Yeah. Well, let's not bring the show down. Let's pick it up a notch. Here we go. We're gonna talk about not losses. We're gonna talk about wins. Even though Notre Dame's trying to prove that you can lose beautifully, that your losses should count. Okay, here we go. What are we going to talk about first? Is that a stupid question? I think we're going to talk about college football. Are we not?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we made our
great place to start. No one else is talking about that, I'm sure, since Sunday at 12:41 or whatever time it was.
No one else is talking about it. No, not at all.
Yeah. Well, and at the risk of anyone listening, and thank you for listening, by the way, looking forward to your like, subscribe, and comments. But for anyone listening, listen, if you're even remotely a college football fan, especially to one of the teams in the top 15 or so, or one of the non-Power 4 schools, which I think we should change that name. But anyways, then and you've heard everything that's possible to be said. But we'll try to not repeat everything you've heard and just maybe throw in a couple more tidbits, or at least, our opinions. But what we could do is let's just start with the actual, let's just start with the games. Brief comment on the games, because the conference championship games all had something or some effect on the CFP. Not that we're sure of that, because the committee doesn't say anything about what they were really thinking. But I really enjoyed watching the beginning of the Texas Tech BYU game until about the mid-second quarter when I realized it was not going to be a game.
It turned into total domination. It did look like it was going to be close. BYU, that game was a hard hitting game too.
It was. It was.
And I'm sorry, but Bachmeier, Bear Bachmeier for
Yeah.
BYU,
Yeah.
just looked pretty confused almost every single time he dropped back to throw. Then he looked hurried, happy feet, all of that stuff. I was really surprised. I was hoping it was going to
Yeah.
be a closer game.
I'm sorry. I'm sure he's a great guy and a great athlete, but to me, he's always looked like a fullback or a running back trying to play quarterback, like the quarterback got hurt and they had to bring him in. He just doesn't look the part, and that doesn't mean anything other than, when he doesn't have a good game, it kind of looks like he wasn't. But listen, BYU had two plays, two of over 15 yards the entire game.
Yeah.
And Georgia Tech scored on Texas Tech scored on 6 drives of 50-plus yards. So Texas Tech is proving they're big hitters, but they can also drive down the field. Not sure if that's more about BYU's defense or that. So that game, hey, it did have an implication, which we'll talk about in a second. The game everyone probably watched was Georgia-Alabama. What a beatdown. Kirby Smart wanted to play in this championship, even though rest or not playing in it would have been better. He had no choice. But I know he wanted to play in this game because he wanted to get a little bit of pay you back for the game earlier in the season.
Revenge is the best motivator.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it.
It's a big motivator. Yeah.
Alabama
did not have one snap in the red zone until the fourth quarter and averaged just 3.1 yards per play. I'm not kidding you. I think you're going to have to go back, way back, to find a lower yards per play than that, at least in the championship game. Alabama, Ty Simpson just looked like a rookie. It was not good, man.
-3 rushing yards. Credit the Bulldogs' plan, their defense. They wanted that game. You could see that coming. And when did Alabama finally score? End of the third quarter?
Yeah, on a I'm not going to say Hail Mary, but let's face it, it wasn't like, drive it down the field and punch it in from the 2-yard line. It was, a contested catch in the end zone. It really should have been nothing. But hey, listen, Georgia came ready to play. Their defense looks like it's, getting right at the right time of year, because there was some question about Georgia's defense, at least not being like the old Georgia defense, but it looked just fine. And, that had implication in my mind too on the CFP. We'll talk about that. Indiana, Ohio State. Wow. I think a lot of people were surprised. Not that Indiana won necessarily, but how they won, because that was not what I think people, including myself, expected.
Yeah, I mean, if you try to take it from the very, very top, the entire game, what play was it? The hook on the field goal that would have had the game go to overtime, or was it just Mendoza's pass there in the fourth quarter to run out the clock after that? What was the biggest play of the game to you? I think it was Mendoza's critical 3rd and 6, I believe it was. And he hit that receiver down the sideline. Couldn't have thrown that pass more perfectly. And I jumped up and said, yes.
Yeah. Why? You wanted them to win? For any Ohio fans out there, Jim, he's a neutral. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people wanted Indiana to win just because, let's face it, they're perceived underdog, just because they were the worst team in football, arguably, for many years. Not that long ago, by the way. So I think a lot of people are rooting for Indiana, not so much rooting against Ohio State. And we'll talk about what's rooting for one team but not against the other mean. We can talk about that too. Indiana's defense was the biggest play of the game, and it was over and over and over again. I mean, 6 drives OSU had of 20 yards or less. Very few people do that to Ohio State, and Indiana did, and they put pressure on Sayin, all game long. So anyways, that was a surprise on how Indiana won that game. Now you throw that in with the offense they're capable of, and it's tough. Duke, Virginia. I think a lot of people wanted Duke to win, certainly, even though there was no guarantee it would have any effect on the CFP, because Virginia would have gotten in for sure with a win. That would have taken up one of the 11, 12, or taken up a spot. But by Duke winning, it definitely threw things in a little bit of a chaos as far as what's the ACC going to do now, or the CFP do about the ACC, and will it have an effect on things? But I will tell you, Virginia's been winning lucky or lean or overtime all year long, and it just came back to haunt them,
Quarterback just didn't look right. They said that he's been battling, Chandler Morris has been battling an injury since the first game of the season. He looked like he had a little bit of a limp in his gait, and he just didn't look right. Or is that a credit to Manny Diaz and his defensive plan? He's a great defensive coach. They went after him.
He is. He's a good defensive coordinator. I mean, listen, I'm not going to take anything away from Manny. I like Manny. They lost 5 games this year, without playing great defense. I don't know. Virginia's offense, I think, was overrated. Virginia crossed the 50 4 times in the fourth quarter and overtime, and they had 3 points. So kudos to Manny's defense, but getting strong when you needed to, keeping them out of the end zone, and only giving up 3 points. So kudos to them.
And then how ironic is because the way the ACC had it all figured out with who's going to play in the championship game, the team that was in there because of their percentage picking the teams, just knocked our conference out of the CFP.
Boom. Yeah. Well, I think that's right. Did you just mention the initials CFP?
For that spot, for the automatic spot.
No, I just mean, you just mentioned a CFP, so let's have it. Let's make a rule, because we could talk about this for 4 hours probably if you want to get into every nuance. But overall thoughts, and then a couple of interesting tidbits. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, talking to friends and people that watch our show and stuff like that. John from Miami. John, I've known him my whole life, just like with you. He said, take out one group of 5 team. He thinks Notre Dame, Miami, both should have been in.
Yeah.
And not in Alabama. He says one group of 5 is plenty. And I love that opinion. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I think the ACC's tiebreaker rule and Duke winning kind of threw a wrench into that. I think the committee probably thought we're only going to get 1. Why would we get 2? Not knowing that freaking ACC idiots and their tiebreaker, dumb tiebreaker rule, all that screwed that all up. Because you would have had Virginia, 5 teams with 2 losses, and you got Duke and Virginia. I mean, that was the dumb part, because if Miami, Georgia Tech, Virginia, who should have all probably been in that game, any of them win, then there's no controversy about 2 non-power 4 teams going, or 2 group of 5s. But because of that, there's 2 group of 5s. And congratulations to Tulane and JMU. But yeah, one of those teams, both of those teams are taking up a spot from a true top 15 team. Because what I don't like about it is not that they're in, it's how they get in. They get in by different criteria than the other 10 teams. And that is, in my opinion, BS. You're going through all this angst to get it, the right teams in there, and then you get 2 teams like, oh, no, you guys can come in the back door with a whole other set of rules. Stupid. Having said that, everyone is just going to the store right now to make sure they have beers and make sure they have everything, ready to go for this, fantastic matchup that we're about to see, with James Madison playing Oregon. I mean, it's a joke. No offense to James Madison.
Can't wait. What if James Madison whoops him?
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad Texas Tech doesn't have an advantage of a bye, because so does Oregon, apparently. Matter of fact, I might say they have an advantage over a bye, because with a bye, you're sitting around doing nothing. At least Oregon's practicing and all that. They can play a bunch of, backups and stuff, in the third quarter and get some people, Anyways, it's a joke. My overview of the whole thing, of course I'm a homer. Of course I love Miami. When I saw number 9 was Alabama, when they were announcing everything, we knew 1 through 8. When I saw number 9, to be honest with you, I was shocked that it was Alabama. Because
You said,
after,
oh, fudge.
well, two things. Number one, I did because I thought, oh my God, if Alabama's number 9 and there's only one spot left at 10 for either Notre Dame or Miami, I was 99% confident that there's no way ESPN, college football, whoever's running that whole thing would kick out Notre Dame at all, much less over Miami. And they did. And congratulations. I'll have one comment about that. You forget deserving. They saved the regular season as we know it, because if that head-to-head would not have mattered because it was so long ago, or for whatever other reason, when all things were pretty equal, don't forget 4 common opponents. Miami outscored 3 of them more than Notre Dame. They both played Pittsburgh within the last couple weeks of the season. Miami outscored Notre Dame in that game. So don't say Notre Dame was playing great. Miami wasn't. They were all playing great. Everything was pretty similar. Strength of schedule, PFF, everything. The one thing that was different is the head-to-head. If they would have eliminated that as a deciding factor, no one would schedule a tough game out of conference ever again. Why would you? Assuming your conference that you're in, a Power 4, is going to be good enough. You're going to play some ranked teams. You're going to go 10-1, maybe 11-0, a lot more likely to. And if you're a good team, and you know what? Why risk it? So they saved the season. They really did. The regular
We talked about it just before the show. I had during the bowl selection committee picks on Sunday, I had PTSD. It didn't matter that FSU in 2023 went 13-0, won their conference championship, and then watched as they selected Alabama ahead of them, and Alabama had 1 loss. So, my friend Trevor up in Grand Rapids.
That's right. And by the way, that was all based on the perception, not reality. The perception that Florida State could not possibly be competitive or as good as their undefeated season showed without their starting quarterback. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's a fair assumption. But
they won their last 2 games without that starting quarterback.
I was just going to say, you don't know that. And certainly, that year wasn't like there's no defense on the field or anything either. Oh, guess who got the benefit of that decision?
Alabama.
Oh, was it Alabama? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's just very frustrating.
Yeah. And Notre Dame getting a conference. I had to say it. My buddy Trevor in Grand Rapids said, I know how you feel now, Jim, from 2023 because we got snubbed. That's what Notre Dame should do. Join the Big Ten. They probably have an open invitation and a couple of $1 billion set aside just for them.
I'm sure they do.
With
I'm
special
sure they
clauses too. You know?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: why would and by the way, there's probably a lot to talk about here, but why would they join a conference when you can go literally, basically? I don't want to say behind everyone's back, but you get snubbed in the CFP. And by the way, BYU says hello. They got punished basically for losing poorly in a championship game. Alabama didn't. Alabama limped into this. Alabama barely beat a 5-7 team. Alabama looked pathetic. There's 100,000 memes out there with normal people. I'm talking like, Dave the Milkman, who says, I ran for more yards than Alabama did in the conference championship. And he's right. It's a joke that Alabama didn't just make it, but stayed where they were at number 9. The CFP could have done everyone a favor. Moved Miami over Notre Dame where we should have been for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Make number 9's Miami, number 10's Notre Dame. Alabama, sorry. You're playing like dog crap, and you don't really deserve it. And but again, you're punishing them for a poor performance in a championship game, so I get it. But this is where the CFP goes wrong. It's hypocritical. It's one side, you can't be punished. On the other side, they kicked BYU out. They weren't even like a consideration after that.
And you had a piece of advice for our listeners and viewers to watch a certain former NFL coach.
Oh,
watch his podcast.
Yeah. As far as fixing it goes, no one's really saying it right now, in my opinion, than John Gruden. He's got a couple of
Chucky.
things out there that are pretty easy to find, and it is really it's really interesting, his take on it. A couple of them are pretty obvious, but go to 16 teams or have a 14 playoff play in to get to the 12. But I want to end with this on this Notre Dame thing.
Gotcha.
Aside from taking my ball and going home, I get that. That to me, I'm not. Mario Cristobal answered this question about that. He said, "Look, I don't speak for any of the school because I don't know what's going on inside those walls, and I think that's very respectable." But then he said, "There is no way in hell we are not playing that game," and he reeled off 10 reasons why you would play that game, and it wasn't all about Miami. It was for the fans. It was for the experience. It was for the additional practice. It was for the obligation to college football. It was on and on. And so the more he lists about the non-Miami factors of why he would play, the more it made Notre Dame look just like pathetic, man. I don't care. I'm sorry. If you're a Notre Dame fan and you I would love to hear your 15 reasons why you're not playing in that game other than you're better than the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Yeah, okay. But hey, listen, Georgia Tech's going to go play, no problem. So there you go. And Notre Dame's athletic director, your beef with the ACC. I'm sorry if you're mad that the ACC was promoting their permanent member over you, 5-game part-time member. I'm sorry that hurt your feelings because you're not a full-time member. And if it comes down to those two things, just like the CFP, Miami gets the nod. So sorry about that too. And listen to this. Don't feel sorry for Notre Dame because while all this is going on, within 24 hours, Notre Dame goes to the CFP directly with their lawyers, I'm sure, and inks a deal only for Notre Dame that if they are ranked in the top 12 starting next year, all they got to do is be in the top 12. Doesn't say what their record is, doesn't say anything about strength of schedule, doesn't say anything. If they're ranked in the top 12, they have to be included in the CFP. And the over $12 million that comes with that in financial incentives, guess who gets to keep all of that? Because they've chosen not to belong to a conference. That's right, Notre Dame. Yeah. So the more I learn, the more disrespect I have for Notre Dame. Your Golden Dome is tarnished. And you know who tarnished it? You, Notre Dame. Terrible.
It's almost like we need a break, Pepto-Bismol commercial or something.
It's disgusting. But anyways, aside from getting, and if Notre Dame's mad, by the way, I have not heard one person say they're mad at Miami. All Miami did was beat them badly in the first game, and then get into the CFP as Miami should have. So who they're mad at is Alabama, the favoritism that Alabama seems to always get, or the fact that JMU and Tulane are in there. Under different rules, and I am 100% on Notre Dame's side on that, and Vanderbilt and Texas, or BYU, whoever the next one in would have been.
Right. It's we could go on for another 40 minutes.
No, we couldn't because I am out of tequila. And by the way, we are going to have our next show will be the looking at the games ahead. So we're not forgetting about the bracket.
That's for sure.
It's more about how we got here. And I sucked up a lot of our time. We try to keep you and I 50-50. That's for the benefit of, our dedicated fans out there. I'm sorry. Obviously, I'm a little bit more, I got a little bit more angst about it because Miami's name was only mentioned 75 million times over the last, few days. But anyways, looking forward to playing.
You're probably like everyone else in the country. I would love to hear more comments from people that listen to our show, and even just getting texts from our friends that we grew up with in Miami and have known our whole lives and stuff. There's been so much talk. Everyone, my cousins Top Cat and Fred both said stop scheduling Notre Dame. Well, and that was from 1978. Top
yeah, right. Well, we used to play Notre Dame every year. They canceled the home. They canceled it. They canceled the series. So
The,
whatever.
the NBC, the special NBC deal, it's Notre Dame and then everybody else.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I was at the Catholic Convicts game. I was there. My friend Rick Larison's dad was a South Bend councilman of some kind. Flew up the day before, drank well into the night, woke up at 7 a.m., had to get in a white van. It literally looked like a white van kidnappers use. And when the sliding door opened, there was like 50 people in there, all Notre Dame. Of course, I had my Miami Hurricane sweatshirt. I had the greatest time. The people were awesome. Going to Notre Dame to a game there the first time was fantastic. I learned a couple things really important. The wooden bleachers were built so long ago, back when people were 5'6", that if one person stood up, everyone had to. That was the only way you could sit back down, is to get your knee against the back in front of you and squeeze down. And I did have my hat stolen. I was punched in the back and spit on at least 3 times on the way out, which made me question who are the Catholics and who are the convicts again. But it didn't matter. 31-30, a phantom fumble cost us that game. Number 1 against number 2. Excellent experience. So I'll always appreciate Notre Dame and the hospitality for that.
Tell us how you really feel.
There were, I'm saying I really appreciated that. I like Notre Dame, plus I was born and raised Catholic. So there you go. The NFL played this weekend too, right?
Yes, sir, man. And I'll tell you what, should we go over our picks from last weekend? We both had Alabama.
Oh, well, for college, yeah, let's do that. For Alabama.
You wrote it in ink, right?
I did, of course. Yes.
And then I think Indiana, Ohio State. Did we
both? You had Georgia. I had Alabama.
Okay. And then Indiana, Ohio State. Did we both vote with our heart and pick the Hoosiers?
We both picked the Hoosiers.
Yes. I love it. And then the other game that we picked was it BYU?
We both picked Tech? Texas Tech.
Okay. Sing it out.
I picked Duke. You picked UVA.
Oh, so we ended up even.
We ended up even again. Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, speaking of even, what do you want to start with the NFL?
Let's start with the games we highlighted, but there's a couple of honorable mentions for sure. We started highlighting. It was the Jags and the Colts.
Oh boy! And now,
yeah,
you steal the thunder. What are the Colts going to do without Daniel Jones, Joe?
Well, before we get to that thunder, let's talk about the dark clouds. All right, there's no thunder yet. The Jaguars beat the Colts 36-19.
Yeah.
Jacksonville averaged. This is the NFL, and this we're not a stat guy unless the stats are slapping you in the face. 7.1 yards per play in the NFL. That's not per reception. That's per play. That was by far the Jacksonville Jaguars' most explosive offensive performance of the year, but it didn't come against, Tennessee. It came against the Colts, who have given up 20 or more points 6 weeks in a row. They've got a lot of problems. So then the thunder comes. Their quarterback Jones is out with an Achilles injury.
And isn't there some grandfather that just got to Indianapolis last night, a former Colts quarterback, a Wolfpack ACC champ? Oh, my goodness.
Phillip, I don't know.
Rivers?
Is there? Who is it?
Signed to the practice squad today.
Yes, he signed today, so it is official that he's not just visiting the compound. He is on site under contract.
How did he stay in shape? Playing with the grandkids.
I don't know, but I haven't seen him for a while, but I have heard this was kind of a rumor, and I'm sure a lot of people like me initially thought it was kind of a joke, really, because the last time he's played literally was in 2020, which, by the way, that was kind of shocking to me, because when you think about, 5 years ago, that's the last time Phillip Rivers played. That doesn't seem that long ago to me. But when you hear his name, it seems like 20 years ago. It's kind of weird. But, hey, listen, he's a granddad. He's 44 years old. He last played for the Colts. Don't forget, I picture him with the Chargers uniform on, but he was a Colt, 8-time Pro Bowler. So, if he's in pretty good shape, 44 is the new 34. He's watching Aaron Rodgers run around. Why not?
I like him, and I wonder if the Colts did try to contact Andrew Luck first. I
Yeah,
really wonder. I really wonder.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
I would love to see him succeed. I guess he has a connection to their coach, Shane Steich. Is it Steichen or Steichen?
I can,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, anyways, he's got a relationship with him. So, hey, why not? I would love to see it happen, man. Just even if he comes in and plays for a quarter, although he's coming in the thick of things, they're still in the playoffs in a good spot, but not for long if they drop another game or two.
Yep. And then I am sorry if you said it already. Did I pick the Colts to go on the road and whoop
If you want to do this, then you picked the Colts and I picked the Jags. Yes,
the Giants?
I'm telling you what, man, the Jaguars. Sometimes they look like an AFC champion type team, and then other times they look like a playoff team. Man, but I'm telling you,
Yeah.
man, they keep winning, and that is the key in the NFL. How'd you like that Packers Bears game?
Oh my goodness. Woo-wee. Last play of the game. But leading up to
Unbelievable.
that, I absolutely loved, sorry for the pun, in love with his touch on some of those throws for touchdowns, especially the one that was from I guess a 30-something yard TD pass. But the way he put it up, and Watson was darting across the goal line from one side to the other, and just the way he laid it in there, I was like, man, not only has he got a great arm, but he's got touch.
He's got touch. They call that layering when you got to clear the linebacker's head but drop it in before the safeties, that kind of thing. He does a
Yeah,
good job of that. But let's face it, he had time. He wasn't running around for his life too much with that vaunted Bears defense. Speaking of defense, Packers holding the Bears to 21.
yeah,
I like Green Bay, 24 points in 7 straight games, 24 or more. So, hey, I will say Chicago, they're going to be somebody to contend with. But for right now, that was a
for
great
sure.
matchup, and I like that the Packers won because it keeps that whole division and everything like just kind of really close. It's great. I think it's better for football. How about the Texans Chiefs?
Yep.
Surprise?
Just before that, I was just going to say on that last play, though, I'm sure I'm stating the obvious, but Caleb Williams was darting for his life. He rolled out to
True.
his left.
True.
If
Yeah.
he would have put a little more touch on that pass, he had, I think it was Komet open in the
Yeah.
back of the end zone. That would
Yeah.
have been, it would have been a completely different story we're talking about right now.
100%. Oh yeah. I mean, no, no,
Yep.
no doubt about it. I mean, it was a game that came down to the wire for sure. And yeah, and I mean, Williams is, like I said, he's unbelievably fast for a bigger quarterback. And both defenses played well, but I was kind of surprised how good the Packers defense looked. Not saying that they haven't been good, but they look really good.
Yeah,
Texas
they
and
do.
Chiefs, talk about a game that kind of caught I mean, it's wow.
Texans defense. End of story. That's the difference. And we talked about it in last episode 19. We talked about it. Mahomes versus any teams that are efficient on defense on third downs. Look out, Patrick. And
Yep.
look what happened.
I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. It's the same head coach, the same quarterback, the same, famous tight end. Um, Pretty much the same team. And now they cannot move up and down the field like they used to at all. Did you know this game was the first time Patrick Mahomes in his entire career has ever not had a game where he didn't have a 20-plus yard play?
That is
Ever.
crazy. No, I did not know that.
Patrick Mahomes, in Kansas City offense, did not have one play for 20-plus yards. It's the first time ever that he's finished a game without a chunk play of 20-plus. And that is really saying a lot about the Houston defense. And we talked about this, you're right, when we talked about this game preview, we talked about Texas defense. When you see Chiefs 10 on the scoreboard, wow, the first thing in your mind is, who was that defense? Texans are legit, man. And if they can just get an offense that just scores a little more points, 17-20, if they could just score 21-24, man, they would be a fearsome team to meet in the playoffs.
Yep. And I was just thinking about the playoffs already. That's getting close.
Playoffs.
We're going to have to talk about that pretty soon, no doubt. But the Texans, the Jaguars, obviously Buffalo right now.
Well, before we get to them,
Chargers.
let's talk about the last game last night, Chargers and Eagles. What happened?
That's the other team, the Texans, the
Chargers,
Jaguars,
Eagles. Let's
and the Chargers.
Chargers look great, even with no left hand for their quarterback. Didn't matter.
Yeah. And it was the first time I believe we've seen a quarterback with 2 turnovers on the same play. Jalen was hurting after that one.
Ooh, good one. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, that was great. A pick, a fumble, a pick, a pick, a fumble, a fumble, a pick, a fumble recovery. Yeah. I was going to play that, but I'm sure everybody's seen it by now. But if you haven't, go look at three turnovers in one play. That actually described not just that one play, but the game very well. It was really hard to watch, quite frankly. I mean, it was just so sloppy. When you see a defensive battle, it's one thing, but this was just a sloppy game. Eagles look bad, man. They've blown second half leads in 4 straight games. Their offense looks really vanilla. They're not fooling anyone. And their running game, I don't know what happened to it. If you look, they showed a stat last year versus this year, and it was every single offensive stat wasn't like 7th, now 10th. It was like 3rd, now 18th, 2nd, now 20th, 4th, now 28th. I mean, it was like every meaningful stat. So they're in trouble.
Yeah, and to think about it, 2 months ago, would we be saying that the Eagles, even though they're 8-5, would we be saying that the Eagles just don't look right, or the Chiefs would be sub 500? No way. There's no way we would have said that they're, but the Eagles just, man, it's just execution. I know you're going to hear the coach say it. It's execution. Andy Reid's going to say it's execution. Or is it the other teams are knocking them off because they've been on the top of the hill? It's a combination of both.
Why do you not stay on the top of the hill? I mean, age a little bit. Maybe
could be with the Chiefs.
There's so much film on you and so many successful games that people can, even if you're losing 1 or 2 games a year, people can go look at those 1 or 2 games and see how you got beat. I mean, plus, the talent rises and falls on every team. And so other teams like Houston or, Buffalo's not a really example. They've just kind of been there. But, look at New England and look at Denver. I mean, coaching matters. You know what I mean? And you know what? You can get complacent. Andy could be complacent. And I'm not saying you want to be or try to be, but your halftime speeches might not be that good anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mahomes is old. I'm sorry. In football years, it's like dog years. He's getting old. I'm not saying he's not a great athlete or a great quarterback anymore, but his style of play is not like Tom Brady. Pocket passers can last a lot longer in the NFL than guys who rely on impromptu scrambling and throwing on the run and all of that. Patrick Mahomes very rarely sits back in the pocket and goes through his progressions and throws the ball. He's always on the move, always getting hit. He's older than a lot of quarterbacks who sit in the pocket.
Yep. And maybe that's why Rivers is able to come back, because there is no way Phillip Rivers is a scrambler.
No.
He is a pure pocket passer. So maybe Mahomes is trying to adjust his game and become more of a pocket passer, and he's just not hitting. It's just Hurts and Mahomes both looked off.
Well, yeah, Mahomes might be trying to adjust, but you know what? I don't know if his offensive line is set up or good enough to protect the pocket for more than 2 seconds. So who knows? And speaking of Phillip Rivers and his scrambling or running ability, he makes Dan Marino look like a dual threat. So yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Or Don Strock.
Don Strock. Yeah, Don Strock just saw over everybody. You mentioned playoffs. Let's just close it out with this. The usual suspects in the AFC I'm going to read it down in order of making the playoffs, but it's New England, Denver, Jacksonville in third place with 97% chance to make the playoffs. Obviously, some of these teams are almost a lock. Then Buffalo behind Jacksonville, interesting, and then Houston at 88, and then LA Chargers. After that, we get into the 60s. Then we're down into the 30s now, and look at this. Baltimore, 30%. Indianapolis, 27%. This is not to win a division. This is to make the playoffs. Wow. Kansas City's below that, 11%.
That's crazy.
Cincinnati, Miami, Cleveland, Jets, Raiders, Tennessee, bringing up the last four teams have 0. Miami still has a less than 1% chance, but it's not 0. So you got that, we got that going.
Yes.
Yeah. And then on the NFC side of things, by the way, the NFC is actually kind of a little bit more interesting in the sense that you've got all these teams in the 90s, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Green Bay, Packers, San Francisco, Philadelphia, all in 90s, Tampa Bay and Chicago in the 70s and 60s, Detroit 55. That's all pretty good. Now we get into the Carolinas at 30. Dallas at 10%. That loss hurt them badly. And then Minnesota less than 1. They're in the same spot as the Dolphins. And then 0, Arizona, Atlanta, New Orleans, New York, and Washington. So,
So there's an outside chance the Vikings and the Dolphins can meet in a Super Bowl for the second time.
There is an outside chance, yes.
Thank you, Joe.
That chance is as good as Chuck Foreman playing in that game. So, yes.
All right.
That's a fact. Chuck Foreman, University of Miami. A lot of people forget.
Yes, sir. I remember.
Yes,
number 44.
By the way, we've got 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks before the first playoff games actually happen. So a lot between now and then to talk about. But, hey, listen, that's great. Enjoyed this conversation. We'll see you later on this week, and we'll talk about some upcoming NFL games, maybe a little bit more insight on the CFP. And,
can't wait, Joe.
Yeah, and mainly the games, of course. Yes.
Can't wait.
Can't wait either. So that's it for this episode of the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks with Jim and Joe. Thanks for checking us out and hanging with us for some real fan-driven sports talk.
And don't forget, your comments are a part of the show. Drop them below, read them. We'll feature them. See you next time. Be sure to like, subscribe, and catch us every week for free on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok now, or wherever you listen. Bye, everyone. Bye, Joe.
Take care, Jim. See you, buddy. Take care.
See you, bud.